At a time of year, which we all are in, when we all need a little motivation for the year ahead. He's a sports journalist, broadcaster, podcaster, motivational speaker, and he's here to tell us about his brilliant new book, Champion Thinking, How to Find Success Without Losing Yourself. Hello, Simon Mundie. How are you?
Michael Ball, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you. What a joy.
What? Well, that's the way you start. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll do. So, fascinating book. Before we get into this,
yes.
tell me about you. Tell me about your career path, how you got into sports journalism and doing what you do.
Okay, I'll try not to go too far back, but my parents are big sports fans. I'm sure they're listening. And anyway, and that led me down the first of all, the broadcasting journalism path, but I was lucky enough to become sports reporter for Radio 1. And I was the sports presenter for Radio 1 for 8 years, during what I would say was the halcyon period of sport. If you think about it, we had the 2012 Olympics and Paralympic Games. It felt like a bright new dawn for Britain, if you remember that year.
Absolutely.
Then we had, a year later, we had Andy Murray winning Wimbledon. Yeah. First British male in 77 years. The next year, off to watch the World Cup in Brazil, football's spiritual home. So it was wonderful, right? I was very, very blessed to be at all these events. And then in time, though, I had this sort of sense that I was talking always about results, tactics, score, scandals, all this kind of stuff, money. And it missed something about the beauty and depth of sport, as well as the multitude of life lessons that anyone can take from sport. Because I think when people listen to sport, for example, on the radio, some of them just switch off because it's either a language you speak or you don't. But actually...
And yeah.
Yeah, right, you're in. I'm talking to one as we speak. There we go, right? But actually... anyone can, and in Champion Thinking, this is exactly what I'm trying to do, is it's not about the sport, it's about what we can learn from it, about life, about what success really is and isn't, and how to live what a life well lived really is. Yeah,
and it is interesting to say that, because I'm not a sports fan particularly.
You're missing out.
Well, I am, because there are those moments when the country does come together, and I suddenly invest in a sporting event. My granddaughter Grace is now playing for Team GB.
I saw that, yeah.
I mean, and so who knew that I would suddenly be an official person knowing all about GB Rugby Sevens?
I know, right?
And the World Cup.
Great sport, by the way.
It is an amazing, very exciting sport. Yes. So I do get it, but what I'm more interested in is, I mean, talking to her and the sports people that I've met over the years, is the motivation. It's how they get up and do it, and how they deal with the success and deal with the failures, and they are lessons we can all learn from.
Absolutely. Look, I think, I talk about a lot of this stuff in there, okay, but I think, I've been lucky enough. I set a podcast up, actually on the BBC, 2018. It was called Don't Tell Me the Score. Clues in the title, not about the score, any of that stuff. And I was really trying to extract some of these life lessons, which led to then being approached by Bloomsbury to write this book, Champion Thinking. As you say, there's so much to learn. So for me, the key insight, can I go in with the key insight, Michael? Shall I share this with you? Because I know you relate to this, okay? Because I've heard you talk. We tend to think that we will be happy in the future when X happens, whatever X may be. Maybe it's the job, maybe it's the promotion, maybe it's the relationship, the house, the trophy, the World Cup win, the Olympic gold medal. But numerous times people get to the top of their proverbial mountain and feel unfulfilled. Johnny Wilkinson told me the day after he kicked the winning drop goal in 2003, he felt as empty as he ever had. Caitlyn Jenner, I was sat in her house in Malibu. She was saying she won 1976 decathlon gold. The training was running away from a lot of my issues. So we know, therefore, that success in and of itself, object, approval, fame, they're not synonymous. They're not the same as the joy, the fulfillment, the happiness that we really want. But what is? Yeah. And I know you relate to this, Michael, right? Is that experience of being in flow. Now, I know you know this, right? I was listening to you on Desert Island Discs, and you came out with this beautiful line where you said, there's this wonderful moment where it clicks and you're on the roller coaster with the audience, just riding it, right? You're not driving it, you're riding it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that's so true.
Right, okay. And so why do we love that? So Johnny Wilkinson talked about, it wasn't after he'd won the World Cup, When he kicked that winning drop goal, he said, it wasn't me kicking it, it was a knowing of it. Frankie Dettori, when he rode the last of his horses in the Magnificent Seven, he talked about, it was like I was there, but I wasn't there. Emma Raducanu, it was insane. I was so present. It wasn't me, it was my body was just acting. And so we love it because when we're in flow, we are so present to the moment that thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future go. We're not worrying about what happened yesterday. We're not worrying about the upcoming bills. We're just purely present.
So it's mindfulness.
It's mindfulness
purest form.
In its purest form. That's absolutely it. Our sense of self disappears in that moment. And basically we kind of merge with the moment. And that's what we really love. The trophy is a symbol of that moment. It's not the trophy we want. We love losing ourselves, which is why we love losing ourselves in books, in music, in conversation, in dance. That's what we really love.
But the frustration is we don't know why it's happening at that moment. And our goal is then to try and get that back all the time.
Yeah.
There's a famous story of Olivier. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use a theatre analogy, which works the same way. Doing the performance of his life of Othello at the Old Vic. And it was the most incredible performance ever. And people went backstage to see him and he was in his dressing room weeping.
Yes.
And they're going, Larry, what on earth is wrong? You've given the performance of a lifetime. And he went, yes, and I don't know why and how.
Yeah.
So is the motivation then for all of these great sports, or any great performer, to try and get that feeling back?
I think that's what people really want. We are told it's about, everyone says it's about the winning, it's about the trophy, it's about the success, the acclaim, the fame. It's not.
No.
It's that moment, the moment that you spoke about, the roller coaster moment, the Emma Raducanu in that final when she won in the US Open, watching Roger Federer dance around centre court.
Yeah.
That, as a viewer and as playing. And there are so many ways into it. That's what we really love. But the interesting thing I would say is as per your example with Laurence Olivier, is like, how do I get there, right? This grasping for it, and when we grasp for it, we can't get there because it's the mind that sort of goes, where is it? It's not that, because here's a key insight, right? We're not our thoughts, we're aware of our thoughts. So it's there before the mind that, where is it? The mind has to go, as it does in flow. The thoughts about past and future and stuff, they go, and it's there. It's always there before.
You have spoken to all of the great sporting heroes,
Indeed.
Sporting legends.
Yes.
Who of those people have you really gone, you've got it, you've sussed it, you have understood what you need to do to be a champion?
Sure. Well, I think what I'm talking about here, Johnny Wilkinson really gets it. He said he achieved all his life's dreams, what he thought he wanted, by the age of 24. He was the best rugby player in the world. He was a pin-up. He was famous. He was a World Cup winner. And he felt as low could be. So it's like, oh my goodness, I've run out of road. Where else do I look? And then it took many more years for this kind of understanding to evolve for him. And that's when, in time, he did a 180. He's got a beautiful podcast called Just I Am, and he realised he gave a lovely saying. He says, it's that old understanding. It's what we're looking for is where we're looking from. It's the joy, the peace. It's actually there before the thinking, before the feeling, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think he gets it.
And how do people deal with the disappointment? I'm thinking back, you write about that incredible Wimbledon final, the Federer, Nadal.
2008.
Yeah, extraordinary.
Yeah.
But ultimately, one is going to win and one is not.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you then find the motivation to go, no, next time?
Well, look, we all have thoughts we don't want, right? We all. Do you mind if I come back to you? Actually,
I love talking about me.
So I was listening to your Desert Island, and you spoke about that moment early in your career when you were with Les Mis, and you had a panic attack, and these feelings came up of anxiety and of dread, and I can relate to that because in my 20s I had bad anxiety, really bad insomnia, and I think. What made the difference for me was I spoke to someone who said to me, okay, you've got to stop battling this, stop fighting it. And he said it made a distinction between the aware mind and the thinking mind. And I was like, I was hit by a sledgehammer. I couldn't believe it. Now, this is something used by Sir Alistair Cook, the England cricketer, when he had his best ever moment in the 2011 Ashes series. It's about using a diffusion technique of realising that we're always going to have that voice in our head that doubts, those feelings of anxiety that come up in those moments of pressure. But actually, if you can notice them and let them pass by, they don't need to rule you. Djokovic is a classic example of this. He uses this brilliantly, probably better than anyone, I would say. He said it's not about getting rid of fear. It's about being with the fear, allowing the space for it to be.
The analogy I use when I get those feelings is it's a wave. Yes. And it's going to hit. Mm-hmm. Now, you have two options. You drown or you surf.
Yes, that's it.
So you ride the wave.
Yes, that's a John Zabotkin, I think that's his name.
Right.
A quote, yeah.
It's not. It's a Michael Ball quote. I thought that all on my own.
You came up with it on your own.
I'm not giving that to anyone. But that's the only way I could, because
Absolutely.
You're right. You cannot stop those feelings, but you have to adapt them to work for you.
So when I was having my insomnia, I used to do this thing, and it's a really powerful, simple tool that anyone can use. When you have an uncomfortable thought, I'm not going to sleep, tomorrow's going to be awful, I'm going to mess this up, you just go, oh, notice it. I'm aware of the thought there. I'm going to mess this up. Yeah. Suddenly, you're not your thoughts. You have that bit of separation, and then you can just watch them pass on by like clouds in a blue sky.
Oh, you smooth talker. It's a really, really, really good book, and I think very helpful.
Thank you.
And the insights into these people are extraordinary, and you've met them all. Simon Mundie, Champion Thinking: How to Find Success Without Losing Yourself, out on January the 18th.
Indeed.
And I was thinking, what's the song that we ought to play? It's this.
I've paid my dues.
We are the champions.
I love Freddie.
Yes.
He's a man.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Cheers.